And good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube, brought to you each and every week by tickets.12ouncesports.com. We are indeed your ticket broker. We're a little bit less than some of the other places, but make sure you check it out. That's tickets.12ouncesports.com. And of course, mybookie.us. For all your first deposits, we match it up 100% up to $1,000. And Javi Coffee, if you're an instant coffee drinker or a coffee lover like I am, make sure you check out javicoffee.com. They've got hot, or if you like it hot or cold, 6 flavors, including regular decaf, French vanilla, salted caramel, and use the promo code Captain Lou for 15% off your purchase. That is javicoffee.com. Well, hey, you know what? It is the eve of the regular season opener for Major League Baseball, at least the real opener for Major League Baseball. And we thought, why not bring in a great expert on Major League Baseball, an old friend of the show, Brent Radlinsky from the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. Brent, as always, it's great to have you back on the show. How are you?
Lou, I'm busy, but it's been a week. It's going to be back on the air with you talking some baseball. It's Christmas Eve for guys like me and you. No getting around that.
Oh, heck yeah, for sure. And I know we had the soft opener, if you will, in Korea last week with the Dodgers and the Padres. But, Brent, let's get the elephant in the room. Let's get it taken care of right now. Let's go right to it with Shohei Ohtani. I know you've talked about it on your podcast. And, you know, I'm a guy, Brent, I hoped amongst hopes that Pete Rose never bet on baseball. And it turns out he did. Now, this thing with Shohei, it just seems like there's more to it than what's being led on. And I just can't fathom that he's been duped that bad.
It's one of those situations, Lou, and I'm like, I think exactly the same way. It's something doesn't seem right here. The stories don't line up. It just like they had the initial story where $4 million went missing, and then $4 million, and then he stole the money, and then all of a sudden he's not friends with this guy, then he's friends with the guy. Like every which way you turn, it doesn't add up. And then the interpreter, I can't remember his name. He allegedly worked for the Red Sox. Then he didn't for a little bit. He didn't go to college in California, and the whole thing is just it's a Keystone Cops kind of a situation because, and if it was any other player other than Ohtani, I think there would be a lot deeper dive. Well, maybe not a deeper dive by the league, but there's a lot more people interested in it because if it was the second baseman for the Cincinnati Reds, me and you wouldn't be talking about this at all. But since it's Ohtani, there's a lot more eyes involved in this and ears checking this out because something doesn't add up.
No,
I get it that when you have the amount of money that Ohtani has, $4 million doesn't mean anything, and he's got people who handle his finances on a daily basis. So what's $4 million to that guy? So I mean, still $4 million. Don't get me wrong. I'd take it, but you just something just stinks to all high heaven because it just there was too many stories too quick, and that's the bothersome thing for me is that all the stories changed as the internet warriors got onto it, and that's what really got my ears ringing a lot with that.
You know, and I'm at the point now with the way that the leagues are in bed with the gambling institutions, FanDuel, DraftKings, Vegas, whatever. You know, I'm okay with Major League Baseball and letting their players, gamble on football or basketball or whatever. I know in the NBA, you can gamble as long as it's not on basketball. But, if he did that, okay, I don't have a problem with it. But if he did bet on baseball, it would be another gut punch because, my favorite player growing up was Pete Rose. I wore his number playing ball. I slid head first, did all that. And I was a young adult when it all came down. That and, oh gosh, the name escapes me, the pitcher for the Red Sox with the steroids. Clemens was my favorite pitcher because he was a bulldog. And, now it's all tainted. And I just hope among hopes that he did not bet on baseball.
Well, like you talk about the Pete Rose thing, and that's been going on for a long time now. Like
35 years.
viewers and listeners probably weren't around when the Pete Rose situation came about, but like the Rose thing, like he always went with it. I never bet for the Reds to lose.
Yeah.
But the thing about that is that might be 100% true. You can manipulate the game a little bit and have a starting pitcher go this way, that way, and you can have a guy go a little bit longer when you got a little bit of skin in the game. So that's why I think that the Rose argument goes a bit sideways for people who say that is that a baseball manager can look at the pitching matchups well in advance, and he can match things up. So that's why that argument goes away, and Rose doesn't have a leg to stand on, in my opinion. I mean, you want to get in a good barroom argument, you just bring up Rose in Hall of Fame. You could talk for weeks on end, and that's one of those things. And with the Ohtani situation, me and my co-host Dave talked about, I think it was last week, how easy it would be nowadays to bet an over-under on how many strikeouts you got or how many at bat, because everybody strikes out so much nowadays.
Yeah.
And so if you go 1 for 4 with a home run with 3 strikeouts, nobody would bat an eye, because strikeouts are such a thing of today's baseball. And the thing with Ohtani, like it can be one of 3 things. The guy bet himself and got caught, and the interpreter's a scapegoat. He could have just plain and simple paid off this guy's gambling debt and not known that the IRS wants their money, and how that all works out. And the other is that Ohtani's a gambler, right? And so you just, that's the one of 3 things that can happen. And so which one do you think it is? Like, and that's what I don't know. And like, we're never going to know. And then Ohtani's lack of a statement on, what was it, Monday night?
Yeah.
Like he came out and said a prepared statement in front of nobody.
Yeah.
Okay, well then why? Like if you have nothing to hide, then don't hide. You don't hide anything. Come out and take some questions from the media, because you're a public figure who's making $70 million a year. I know it's all deferred money and everything,
right?
But something just stinks to me, Lou. Like you said in your opening, something just stinks that maybe he is doing something wrong. Because if you're doing nothing wrong, you would say, I did this, 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 and this. Thank you. See you later.
Yeah,
and be done with it. There's something that just stinks a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. If you got nothing to hide, then put your cards on the table. All right, let's get rid of that. I want to tie this in though. Okay, coming into this year. All right, which of these milestones will we see again? 500 home runs, 3,000 hits, or 300 pitching wins? I preface this by saying, here's a trivia question for you, Brent. This year, we do not have an active player with any one of these milestones that have been hit. When was the last year you could say that we didn't have at least an active player? How far back do we have to go before we had this situation?
That's a really tough question, because it's a good question. Because I'm trying to think, because 300 wins is such a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Because wins and losses don't mean anything to pitchers, or not to pitchers, but to teams anymore. They get to a finish line now. They don't care about how many innings a guy goes. They have an end result and a script that managers follow. I couldn't venture a guess. 2010, maybe, Lou?
No, you got to go all the way back, believe it or not, to 1977. Where we had a year where we did not have a 500 home run hitter or a 3,000 hit player or a pitcher with 300 wins that was active. And ironically enough, it had to go into the spring of 78 when Pete Rose got his 3,000th hit. So
it always comes back to old Pete Rose somehow, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I was reading that in The Athletic. It was a great article yesterday. Yeah. And so I'll see if I can bring this up. Here are the leaders right now. For home runs, Giancarlo Stanton is the active leader. Believe it or not, as injury riddled as he is, he's got 402. And Joey Votto has 2,135 hits. That's the active leader. Although, he's like, what did he sign? A minor league deal with the Jays?
Minor league deal with the Jays, got injured in a tripped on the stairs. Actually rolled his ankles. It was his downcoming. And I thought we'll get back to your question in a second.
And
I thought Votto was a great signing for the Jays to bring that young team maybe to the next level. I thought that was a fantastic signing by the Jays, and a hometown guy too. But as far as your question, Lou, out of the 3, I think you might see Stanton, because he's got 2-3 years left on his deal. If he can stay healthy, that's 3 years, 30 a year. That's doable.
I think so too.
3,000 hits. You might not ever see that again. And I don't think you'll ever. Like, I don't know what Verlander's at, but I don't think that's going to be tough to get to. Yeah. He's only got 1, maybe 2 in him, and that's it. And wins don't, like, you don't see many 20-game winners, let alone 25-game winners anymore.
No,
just the way the game is set up, and base hits don't mean anything. Getting on base doesn't mean anything, and I will never understand that. As long as I live, because the analytics of baseball, to me, if you have a bunch of guys who hit 300 or better, you're going to win baseball games. I don't care about the launch angle and all the rest of that stuff. If you get on base, you're going to score more runs. I think it's that simple. And I will never understand all the rest of this stuff. And because if you hit a ball with the exit velo of 72, that finds its way through and knocks in a run that wins the game, you're when you go to the bar after the game, you can tell anybody where that ball went. But you know what? It was a base hit that won a game, and that's all people should care about.
You know, to leave this subject, I was reading this article. It was very fascinating, and I think the leading pitcher under the age of 28's got like 83 wins. So you're right. There's no way 300 wins is ever going to be attained. And your point about Cy Young or 20-game winners, they're talking about Tariq Skubal with the Tigers. Potentially, he could be in the Cy Young race with 15 wins. To me, that's absurd, man.
And on a team that's projected to be what? So maybe 500?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
that's a pretty big. I know you're a Tigers fan, Lou. That's a rather big maybe.
Yeah.
And so. And like, the game is just different. I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's just different. Right. Do I like it as much? Probably not, because it's the way pitchers are used a little bit, and everybody throws 100 and everybody strikes out a ton. And I still love it to no end, but it's just I don't understand. I think I can't remember who I was talking to, or if I read it. I don't know. I do baseball so much. We were talking that it's. Do you keep paying these pitchers 30, 35, 40 million bucks a year, because they're basically disposable sources now, because everybody throws 100. Yeah, you might have the Garrett Cole he's hurt himself now, who are elite guys, but everybody throws 100. Everybody goes 5 innings or 6, and then they're done. Like Blake Snell is still without a contract, I believe, or he just signed last night, didn't he? With he went to the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, he went to the Giants.
So Snell went to the Giants. So you got a multiple Cy Young winner that people are like, nah, we're good. So it's unreal that like Cy Young winners used to be guaranteed. They're getting contracts offered left and right, and now because pitchers are basically insert guy here because we only need him for 4 or 5 innings. Insert pitcher here because we don't need him. So I think these pitchers who were holding out, like Montgomery signed last night with the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
And he only got a 1-year deal. So what happens if he gets hurt? Then what?
Yeah, exactly.
So pitchers, I think they really got to watch themselves in the coming years ahead, because firstly they throw so hard at a young age, they get their Tommy John done, then they get hurt again, and then they're done. So a lot of guys don't see past the age of 25 or 30.
Yeah. So they want these pitchers to get Tommy John at 19 now. It's incredible. So I'm going to be jumping all over the road here when I got
That's
you.
Fine.
15, 20
That's why I like coming out with you, Lou.
Can Baltimore repeat as a 100-game winner?
No.
I don't either. I don't see it either.
Because I think that the Jays are going to be a better team this year, because all they need for one guy, for Vladimir Guerrero to have a better season, and that's a couple of wins here and there. I think the Yankees, yes, they lost Cole, but I think the Yankees are going to have a better season this year with Soto. So right there, I think you take away probably 6 wins right off the bat on that, and then some of these guys are going to find the sophomore drought, or whatever you want to call it, that it's going to happen. That it's just going to be one of those things where Baltimore's they're a very good team, but sometimes you get that sophomore slump is the actual term that we're looking for there, Lou. The sophomore slump comes up, and Rushman is going to have those days where it just doesn't come through. They'll be really good. They're a playoff team for sure. Will they win the East? Probably, but 100 wins, that's a lot. That's a lot of wins, man.
It sure is. Are the Braves really that good? I mean, they look like they're capable of winning 110 games. You got the Dodgers right there too. I mean, those two teams on paper, obviously, paper doesn't win you World Series. Just ask the Dodgers. But God, I look at that Braves lineup and it's stacked. Wow.
And they keep adding.
Yeah, I know
Is the
it.
thing, and they keep adding, and they make themselves better night in, night out, and that playoff experience helps. And they didn't get to the ultimate goal last year, obviously. So I think that they're going to have that chip on their shoulder, and they'll have a better record than last year. Or they might go the other way and slow things down a little bit, clinch that playoff spot, and then get in, and then walk into the playoffs and set up their pitching staff a little bit differently and rest things. And as far as the Dodgers go, sometimes you just have too many stars.
Yeah.
And that's what I think has been wrong with the Dodgers. Yeah, they go out and sign guys here and there, and they got some plumbers here and there. But like, is Mookie Betts going to be a full-time shortstop all year long? I don't know. Is this Ohtani stuff going to leak into 1, 2, 3 weeks into the season? Yamamoto so far, the big signing, what was it, 35 million, 40 million, whatever they gave him, unproven. He pitched over in Japan, was that the great over there, but coming over here, and so far in spring training, he hasn't been that good.
No.
The National League West, it's rather weak. With other than somehow some way out of nowhere, the Arizona Diamondbacks came and did what they did last year.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And then going to the World Series. But the Dodgers, I just have my doubts about the Dodgers because they haven't done it with all those stars in the past, and adding an unknown pitcher who was supposed to be the guy and hasn't been so far. I mean, spring training doesn't mean anything usually, but it can. And then all of a sudden, the travel and the rigors of the Major League season's long, and the Ohtani stuff. If this leaks into 2 or 3 weeks with the unknowns, if something happens with that, he does get suspended, the Dodgers might be not winning that division. And it's they should be that good, like you said, on paper they are, but they haven't done anything but that 3-quarter World Series in 2020, I think it was. That
right on.
It's what. So since 1988, they haven't really done anything. Yeah, they've been the National League West champion how many times in a row, but that 3-quarter World Series, to me, it's like, oh, all right, you kind of got one, but not really.
So, all right, let's get the darts out. You could throw a dart at any one of the teams in either AL or National League Central. I mean, I know the Twins might be on paper the better team in the AL Central, but they don't scare me. And in the National League Central, I keep waiting for the Cincinnati Reds to break out. They're always the darlings, but it seems like they always fall. If you put a gun to my head to pick a winner in the National League Central, I couldn't do it. In the American League Central, I guess the Twins maybe.
I think the Twins are your favorite because they've been there before. But once again, who do they scare? Nobody's really scared of them. And what do they do? Then I don't think that if they do get past the wild card round, they're not going to scare anybody.
Yeah.
The Tigers are going to be a little bit better. Oh man, that's a tough one because they're just nobody that great, and it's odd. But then you know what? That's another thing. If you can get ahead in the Central a little bit, get up to a good start in the first 3 weeks, and then cruise a little bit, that might be the biggest. That might be the division to get hot and go start off 8-2, and then you can kind of just find a way to get it all to work. As far as the National League Central, the Cubs should be markedly better. Craig Counsell as a manager there, leaving the Brewers in a rather smelly situation. I thought it a bad look. I mean, money's money. You're not going to say no, and he might have a better chance to win with the Cubs. And but I don't know if I would have left a pretty good situation with the Brewers because the Brewers were a playoff team last year and they lost to the Diamondbacks in the wild card round. I think the Brewers are probably still right there in the but the Cardinals they're not going to be. The Cardinals will not be as bad as they were last year. That's one thing we can guarantee.
Yeah.
The Cardinals aren't going to be a 100 game loser or whatever they had last year. They were close to 100 if they didn't get to 100.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, maybe they'll get back to the Cardinal way, and because they're so consistent over the years, they always have been. Yeah, the American League Central. That's a tough one, Lou, because nobody really thinks about them so much because they never do anything.
No,
like they're not a sexy division. Like hate to knock on your Midwest a little bit, but it's just they're just. I live in Alberta. We don't even have a team like out here, so it's yeah. You got to think that the Twins are maybe going to jump through because they did have a pretty good season last year, and they did win a wild card round against the Blue Jays in a kind of a weird series where the Blue Jays pulled their pitcher. We had a no-hitter in the fifth or a one-hit or whatever that was. And but Minnesota's probably the cream of the crop in that division.
All right, we're going to turn our attention to some prop bets here before we get some ultimate predictions. All right, I saw some of these that were kind of intriguing to me. Now, nothing against Aaron Judge. Over under right now for him for home runs is 43.5. The one that I really like, now that Shohei is in the National League, I really like the odds with Vladdy Guerrero for AL MVP at plus 2,000. I'm gonna put a sawbuck on that. I figure, why not? I can win, a couple $100 on that maybe. And then I'm with my Tigers, betting with my heart, of course. 350 to win the AL Central. But what do you think about Aaron Judge? Can he get back to the form? Can he get to 50 home runs or 45? The over-under to me, I only put under on there because that's what they were saying on the four-letter network. The more I look at it, the more I may want to bend to go over on that.
The thing with Judge is how many pitches is he going to see? Because it depends what kind of start that him and Soto have. Okay. So how many pitches is he going to see that are going to be okay? We will, because both aren't going to be hot and both aren't going to be cold. Or both will be hot, so that only one guy, because you can't keep walking guys, right? You can't keep putting guys on base. Not that intentional walks are that big of a thing anymore. But Judge still strikes out a lot. Okay. No matter what. So I would take the under on that as well, because I just think that they're going to maybe pitch around him a little bit more because Soto's not as power, but Soto walks a lot too, and Soto's eye. But I would go the under because 43 home runs, as many as he strikes out, I would still go the under. Vladdy Guerrero Jr., like I said earlier, Lou, I think because he's due for a big raise coming up pretty quick. One of those massive. He's on one of those contracts that just like year-to-year deals right now, arbitration deals. This would be the year for him to put something together and jump over the other guys and get the Jays to that next level. Actually, that's funny. That's what their hashtag is, next level. The Jays is. So I would expect Vladdy Guerrero Jr. to have a great season. That's not a bad bet at all. No. And Detroit to win the AL Central. I think that might be you're thinking with your heart, not your head on that one. But you never know. You just never know. It's happened a time or two in the past. But and the AL Central isn't that tough, like we just discussed. So you just might see a situation where the Detroit Tigers, the roar of '84, it won't be that good.
Yeah,
you might see something jump out of there somehow, some way.
God, 40 years ago already. Holy crap.
Isn't that crazy?
That long. Yeah. So speaking of Aaron Judge, I heard something yesterday. I think it was yesterday on one of the talk shows. Now he's playing center field this year, correct?
Yeah.
Is that, you think, Roman center field, will that have any effect? It may sound crazy, but will that have an effect on his home run power too? With, I don't know. So
you're covering more real estate out there at Yankee Stadium 81 times a year. He'll play 70 games there, 675 games. You're covering more real estate. You're expected to do a lot more. It's a tougher position to play. It's usually why you usually have the more and Judge is a big body. A massive body and lumbering that thing around. And let's face it, even though you and I aren't getting any younger, neither is he. So that's the wear and tear in his body. Yes, he had most of last season off with that toe injury he got at Dodger Stadium, running into that brick wall out there. I don't like it, but he's the lesser of the three evils, whatever they're going to put out there. So with Judge playing out there, can he stay healthy, and will his home run production go down? I say no to both. I say yes to his home run production going down as well, because you're running more, and because there's just more real estate to cover, and that's just simple covering acreage. That's just math right there.
So we had Texas and Arizona in the World Series last year. I don't see either one of those teams in it. Texas could possibly make the playoffs. I think, in my opinion, Brent, they were a one-hit wonder as far as a World Series champion, kind of like the Nationals. I kind of like Toronto to make a run, and in the National League, I'm going with the Dodgers. I'm going with the Braves rather. I think that they're going to get back to the World Series. Something about Toronto really intrigues me. I think they can overcome the Yankees and the Orioles in the playoffs. And to our point earlier, the Central is the Central. Nobody's going to make it past the divisional round there. But what is your gut feeling on March 27th, 2024 on the World Series? I won't ask you for the winner, but who's going to make it?
I think that the Houston Astros are going to, and I hate saying that. Like I've forgiven. Well, we talk about this all the time. I've
Yeah.
forgiven for the 2017, but I will never forget. I'm a Yankee fan, so everybody knows what I'm talking about
Yeah.
there. But I'll never forget. But I think they're a good enough team to get back there, a little bit of chip on their shoulder, and they got a pitching staff that's just good and really good. And the relievers are good, and Altuve still got a little bit into him, and Bregman's got a lot in him still. And so I think that the Houston Astros, like it bothers me to say that. So I see a Houston Toronto thing as well, because I think Toronto's going to be they're going to be better this year.
Yeah.
And if they, like I said, if Votto can somehow, some way make his way into that lineup and just be because he's never been a playoff guy either, but he's got kind of a good enough mentor to help out that young team who's not getting any younger anymore either. Because if not now for the Toronto Blue Jays, then when? Right. And that's the biggest thing for them. It's now or never almost for them. The National League, probably the Braves, like realistically, but the Phillies. Like the Philadelphia Phillies, they're another team, if not now, then when, because the Phillies probably should have got there last year. They were up 3-1, I think, in that series versus the Diamondbacks, and they ended up blowing it at home, losing 2 in a row at home, which was unbelievable. But they went out and they got bigger, they got better. So you know what? I'm going to say that the Philadelphia Phillies, Bryce Harper, I think the Phillies have a really good shot at winning this thing.
So we had a year into the rule changes. Your impression with the pitch clock, that's the one thing that I like the best out of the rule changes. I like that the game is it doesn't take 4 hours anymore. What your impressions on all the rule changes from last year? Was it good or bad?
I love them all. Like the bigger base thing, never noticed. I think it's what it is. I don't think that increased the amount of stolen bases. I think that was more of a safety thing, and they should have just said it was a safety thing and not said it was going to increase stolen bases, because that's a bunch of hooey, in my opinion. I also think that the throwing over to pick guys off, I think I like that rule, because it just when you throw over 14 times, the guy wasn't going anyways. Stolen base are a thing in the past anyway. So what are we doing throwing over? You're not really holding guys on anymore for any reason. So I like that too, because that sped up the game a lot. But the pitch clock, I like it. I don't think you're getting less baseball, because it's still 3 strikes and 4 balls and 27 outs per side. So you're not getting less baseball, you're getting less dead time, and I liked it. I thought it was great. It sped the game up. The only thing that really slows a baseball game down, Lou, is when pitchers throw ball 1 and ball 2. Right, because all of a sudden the counts get longer, and that's the biggest thing with baseball at any level. When the games get long, it's because of walks, because there's more pitches and everything else, and pitch counts go up, and that's what slows the game down. As far as having the pitch clock there, it didn't take away from my viewing experience. The game didn't change for me. Like it didn't. I didn't go. It didn't perk my interest any less or any more. It's faster. Like a 3-hour game was all of a sudden 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like, and it doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it's like you said, when it gets into the 4 hour, you're like, holy. Yeah. And like being in a game that's 4, like, Christ, I got to get out of here. So it's one of those. We're not like going to bed at 11 o'clock is tough on the best of occasions, let alone when you're at a ball game.
Yeah, exactly. So what are you going to be doing for opening day tomorrow?
I got to go into the Lethbridge Bulls world headquarters and do a little bit of our stuff to get our season going. Yeah. And then at 1:30 Mountain Standard Time, I'm going to leave the office for the Easter weekend. And then I'm going to sit down here in the Yankee Tavern North in beautiful Lethbridge, Alberta, put the Yankees on, and my 3 other TVs. I got about 3 or 4 games I'm tuned into tomorrow. And then throughout the weekend, it's all baseball all the time down here, Lou. So it's my favorite day of the year is opening day, because you have champagne wishes and caviar dreams for your team. Amen. And you hope for the best. And after 3 days, you're like, oh, son of a, you're already swearing, or else you're smiling ear to ear. But it's always as long as your team doesn't get swept in that opening weekend, I think it's always success.
Oh, I agree. I can't wait. I got a early morning tomorrow, but that means I get home by lunchtime, so I'll be able to watch as much baseball as I can until March Madness hits tomorrow night. We still got the Sweet 16, but man, it's great to have baseball season back. I tell you what, Brent, wow, this half hour has flown by. You and I could talk baseball for 2 hours. What do you got going on the 1420 Sports Bar podcast?
Oh, geez, a little bit of everything, Lou. I'm hosting the Belly Up show tonight, so if you guys are watching this, make sure you guys tune in for our Belly Up and the 1420 YouTube channel tonight. Me and Dave, we get up our usual shenanigans Mondays and Thursdays. We still get a morning show out now and then, so still quite busy. Take a little bit of a step back with my new role with the baseball team, but things are rolling here for us really well here. It's still a lot of fun, and wouldn't change this all for the world. It's been a big change, so it's been a lot of fun. And Lou, as always, thank you very much for having me on your show. I appreciate these short and sweet talks we always have.
Yeah, me too, Brent. Thanks for coming on. We'll get you back on, let's say right about the end of June. Baseball will be about 3 months in, and we'll talk about how our Yankees and our Tigers are both battling it out in first place.
Here's hoping they're good stories, Lou. We'll talk to you then.
Right on. Thank you. Brent Radlinsky, the host of the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. Always a treat to have him on. He's the knowledge he has of baseball is just second to none, and it's always great insight. And it gets me fired up for opening day tomorrow. Again, it was my sport growing up as a kid. I couldn't wait for opening day. It was one of those things where I used to get the Detroit Free Press. We would get a full page ad. They had the schedule of every team, when they played, home and away. So I could sit up. There was always a West Coast game on my AM radio station. I could sit up in bed until midnight listening to all the different personalities in Major League Baseball. It's something that, now we don't have. Well, I mean, you still probably could do it, but with the advent of TV, you watch it instead. I still put my radio on starting tomorrow. I'll be listening to it. Good way to go off to La La Land. Nothing better than listening to a baseball game on the radio. So thank you to Brent Radlinsky from the 1420 Sports Bar podcast for taking time out, talking a little baseball with us. Speaking of baseball, I know you're like me. You like to go watch a game, spur of the moment, that type of thing. Here's the best way to do it as we go to break. Tickets.12ouncesports.com.
Do you need tickets? We have you covered. We have soccer from anywhere in the world. Any venue from any sports. That means we have college and professional football. We have baseball at every level. We have every Power 5 matchup. Remember, costumes and paints are optional. You want to see Broadway? We have them too. We have every concert from every artist. We have you covered at tickets.12ouncesports.com. Tickets for less.
Welcome back, everybody. That's right. Tickets.12ouncesports.com. We are a ticket broker. That means that we don't charge you the fees that some of these other places charge. And if there's a sporting event you want to go to, any of the four major sports, make sure you check out tickets.12ouncesports.com. Also, tonight's broadcast brought to you, as always, by Javi Coffee. Now, it's a great new way to enjoy your coffee, hot or cold. If you like it iced or if you like it hot, you boil your water, whatever you want to do. It's easy. It just takes 1 or 2 teaspoons, depending on how strong you want it. You don't have to worry about the coffee grounds getting on the counter or whatever. You can have regular decaf, French vanilla. That's the flavor that I like. Salted caramel, Irish mist, Irish cream. It is javicoffee.com. Make sure you use the promo code Captain Lou when you go to the website at checkout, and you'll get 15% off of your purchase. That is javicoffee.com. Again, thanks a lot. It's always a pleasure getting Brent Radlinsky on the program, talking a little bit of Major League Baseball with opening day starting up tomorrow, the real opening day. We covered everything from Shohei Ohtani to the prop bets. And, we were talking about the milestones that could be a thing of the past. 500 home runs, 3,000 hits, 300 wins. I know Justin Verlander has been quoted as saying that's his last goal, is to get to 300 wins. He's 43 away. He'd have to probably pitch 3 solid years. And it's like we talked about, a lot of these pitchers only get 14, 15 wins, and they're winning the Cy Young right now. So it could be possible, but if you're getting 5 innings, 6 maybe now out of a starting pitcher, I don't know. And I think what that's going to lead into down the road with Major League Baseball is lowering the threshold into getting into the Hall of Fame. Because I'll tell you, I don't see anybody else getting to 3,000 hits. I just don't see it. And 500 home runs, you might see Stanton, you might see Bryce Harper get to it, but they're battling injury problems. And Stanton's 34, Bryce Harper's 31. He's got 200 home runs to go. He could potentially do it. Aaron Judge, I think, is 33 or 34 years old. I didn't even realize that. And, he's still quite a bit away from that, even though he had the 64 or 63 home run seasons. So, yeah, I think these milestones are going to be a thing of the past, especially 300 wins. You will never, at least in my lifetime again, if Verlander doesn't get it, he's the last hope. I looked at, I could look up some of the pitchers. I had it earlier. Max Scherzer, I think, is like 83 away. There's no way. He's, 40 years old? Let's see real quick. I wish I would have brought this up. But, and as I mentioned too, you've got a lot of these pitchers that are under 30 years old. They're not even to 100 wins. So you're going to tell me that they're going to average, like say if somebody's 28 years old, in the next 12 years, they're going to average, 15 wins a year. That would get them to about 260. So I don't see it happening. So you're going to see a lower threshold to get into the Hall of Fame, maybe 2,500 hits or 225 wins or, 400 home runs, whatever, And so interesting to see. And we talked about our predictions for the World Series. For some reason, I'm on the Toronto Blue Jays bandwagon. I think they can make it. And I think they're going to take on the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta is so stacked. And I see them making a return trip. I'm not a believer in the Dodgers. You're going to have to show me their pitching staff can carry them. I mean, you got Kershaw, who's, on his last legs, and some of these other ones that were mentioned, Walker Buehler. I don't even know when he's coming back. I know they got a stacked offensive lineup, but, if you don't have the pitching, they're not going to do it. And it's like Brent mentioned, they've got their only World Series championship with this run that they've had with all these divisional titles was in 2020 when they only played 60 games. So yeah, that's crazy. All right, let's do a little potpourri here for the last 20 minutes of the show here tonight. The NFL rule changes. What do you think? What do you think of the new kickoff style? I like it. I got to tell you, it's going to make the kickoff return more into play because these teams are not going to want to kick touchbacks because it's going to give the ball on the 35-yard line. Not the 20, not the 25, but the 35-yard line. It's going to put the other team in great field position. Obviously, it's going to be a little awkward at first seeing your kicking team at the other team's 40-yard line, and then they can't move until the receiver catches the ball or gets into the reception area. Now, if the ball hits, like say at the 15-yard line and rolls into the end zone, then the ball is placed at the 20. But I like it. They talk about safety, and this is one that I agree with. Because, you got the players, they're starting from the 35 or the 40-yard line, whatever it is, and they're going full bore down the field, 50 yards down the field, and you've got the kick returner catching the ball, and, it's like, they're going head on. It is, to me, going to reduce the injuries, and I think that's key. And I think there's going to be more strategy with the kickoff returns. You're going to have someone that's going to have to make a couple of more juke moves because, and I think what I want to see is, a couple of the, the blocking schemes with these, on the kick return teams because they're only going to be 5 yards away from the other team. And I'm not 100% up to speed on the whole onside kick thing. I don't know if they have to declare it or what they have to do. But I like the kickoff rule. I think it's pretty cool. And it obviously is going to take some adjusting to do. Now, the hip swinging tackle or whatever you call it, I've gone back and forth on it. I don't know if I like it, but then, after talking with like my buddies in our group chat, it will cut down on some of the ankle injuries and whatnot. My biggest problem with this rule is, again, it's like anything else. It's up to too much discretion is left to the referees on this. There's no real set way you can call this. You're going to have some referees, just like any other rule, that are going to be very aggressive on calling this penalty. And there's going to be some other ones that are going to let it go. From week to week, I think you're going to see it change. It's just human nature. And that's one of the things that I worry about with this new rule. And, it's going to be a 15-yard penalty and automatic first down. I get it. And I just, you're going to have one guy who is just going to be balls to the wall, not giving any leverage on it. And then you're going to have another crew that, is not known for throwing as many penalties. And it's going to, they're going to let a little more of it slide. Now, I think there might be some adjustments to it during the year as far as how they call it. I'm very fascinated to see how this rule change is really going to take effect and how much it really is going to change the game. Obviously, if it cuts down on running backs and wide receivers, with the ankles and with the leg injuries, that's great. I'll keep an open mind about it. I still don't know. That's the only thing that worries me on it. But, it's just like the horse collar and, the hitting the quarterback too high, too low. Sooner we'll get used to it. It's a new rule change. We'll get used to it. I just don't like how there's too much left to chance with that rule. So we'll just have to keep that, we'll keep that in mind. So the draft is less than a month away. Actually, I think it's a month away from today or tomorrow. And, I'm a Michigan guy. You know that. You can see the Coke can right here. National champions. J.J. McCarthy stock is rising. At the end of the year, I thought maybe he could crack the first round, maybe get in the first day as a draft pick in the opening round. I thought more than likely on day 2 in the second round, I thought maybe he would get in with a team that's good, that's picking at the bottom of the first round, that needs an insurance quarterback. Now, the way it's talking, I've seen some mock drafts where he may get drafted as high as 4 or 5 by Arizona, who may trade him. Or, there's so many scenarios. They're saying he could leapfrog Jaden Daniels. He could leapfrog Drake May. Now, everybody's consensus is thinking that it's going to be Caleb Williams, number 1. And, I hope he does go to the Bears because I know he doesn't want to, but he may not have a choice. But J.J. McCarthy stock is really rising incredibly high. And I'm shocked by it. I really am. I didn't see it coming. Now, he's a winner. He's put up some good numbers, and everybody says, well, he's a system quarterback. When he was called on to make the impressive passes, the clutch passes, he made them. 27-1 as a starter, 50 touchdown passes. All right. Again, you can say what you want. He didn't have to throw that much against Penn State. They ran the ball more against Ohio State. I get whatever. But he's a winner. He's got that mentality. He's good in the locker room. That's huge. Will it translate into a Hall of Fame career? Yeah, I don't know. But it's just amazing to me how his stock has risen. He's going to be a top 10 pick. He could go as high as number 4 or number 5. Who knows? It's interesting. I saw one mock draft where they had Arizona trading Kyler Murray to Minnesota. I think Mike Tannenbaum from ESPN said that. Trading Murray to Minnesota and then Arizona picking McCarthy at number 4. Could we see 4 quarterbacks going in the top 4 picks? That's insane. Is that crazy? That would leave an interesting pick at 5. That would be the Los Angeles Chargers. And Jim Harbaugh, although he'll probably pick a lineman, could get Marvin Harrison Jr. And remember, he played with Harrison Sr. at Indianapolis. So let's put those 2 and 2 together. Wouldn't that be something if he picked an Ohio State guy with his opening pick as the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers? Just something to keep an eye on. If he is available at 5, don't be shocked if he takes that big play weapon that to put with Herbert. So I can't wait for the draft. It's going to be less than a month away. I know we here at 12 Ounce Sports are going to keep you up to date on everything going with the NFL draft. So make sure you stay tuned to 12 Ounce Sports. And of course, here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Yeah, football season's coming. The UFL starts this weekend. Go Panthers. We'll keep you up to date on that. So we love talking football all year round. It's that kind of a thing. And speaking of football, they're already talking about, the controversy with 2 Christmas games that are going to be played on a Wednesday. The NFL wants it on Christmas. They've seen the success that the NBA's had. NFL is king. They can go wherever they want. They can play on any day they want. And we're all going to embrace it. You guys can, kick and stick about it. But I guarantee you, after all the Christmas presents are open and you've had your belly filled with a great Christmas dinner, being a ham, turkey, steak, whatever, about 4:30 in the afternoon when you're sitting on the couch with your brand new pair of slippers on that you got from your bride or from your husband or whatever, you're going to be kicking open that. You're going to take the remote just like this, and you're going to be going, what channel are my Lions on? What channel are the Vikings on? What channel are the Green Bay Packers on? And you're going to be watching. I know you're all going to be bitching right now about it, but you're going to be watching. And the opening weekend, Brazil's getting a game. They're getting the Eagles. In my lifetime, I never thought I'd see a game down in Brazil. Nothing wrong with it. It's amazing how global the NFL is going. And I don't think that they want a team there, but they want to get somebody that that maybe play a game there, like in Germany or France and, in England and Ireland, whatever, Mexico. I heard this on Dan Patrick this morning, and I thought it was a great idea. Some of these teams are going to embrace that country. It's going to be their country, their fan base. They're going to own that fan base. I think it's a brilliant move that what the NFL is doing. Really brilliant. They're a marketing genius. They're printing money. It's incredible what they're doing. All right, we're going to take a quick 60-second break. When we come back, we're going to finish up talking about the Sweet 16, the Red Wings, the NCAA hockey tournament, as much as we can get in 12 minutes. That is the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Don't go anywhere.
Do you need tickets? We have you covered. We have soccer from anywhere in the world. Any venue from any sports. That means we have college and professional football. We have baseball at every level. We have every Power 5 matchup. Remember, costumes and paints are optional. You want to see Broadway? We have them too. We have every concert from every artist. We have you covered at tickets.12ouncesports.com. Tickets for less.
Yes, we do have you covered at tickets.12ouncesports.com. It is the newest, best, latest, and greatest way to get the tickets to the venue that you're looking for. That's tickets.12ouncesports.com. We are a ticket broker. We don't charge the fees that some of the other boys charge, but don't take my word for it. Go to tickets.12ouncesports.com. You won't be disappointed. I promise you that. All right, the Sweet 16 is starting back up tomorrow for the men, and we've got some games going on. These are actually some really great matchups. Arizona and Clemson kick things off at 7:09 tomorrow Eastern time on CBS. UConn and San Diego State. I see UConn rolling in that one. I love the story of San Diego State, the run that they've had over the last year and a half or so. It comes to an end tomorrow. North Carolina and Alabama. Not an NC fan, but I don't see Alabama beating them. I'm going with NC. Iowa State and Illinois. I'm going with the Illini in that one. Should be a fun game. And then on Friday, we've got NC State and Marquette kicking things off. NC State, of course, dashing the hopes of the local team here in Michigan, Oakland, winning that one in overtime, getting maybe a break on a referee call, but I digress. Purdue and Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga's run ends. I think Purdue, they've got so much to prove, the Boilermakers do, after the early exits that they've had the last few years. I think they're going to continue that role in Detroit. Houston and Duke, my heart says Houston, and so does my head. I think Houston can beat Duke. I think that's going to be a fun matchup at 9:30. Creighton is going to beat Tennessee. If that's an upset special with a 2 versus a 3, I'm going to go with Creighton beating Tennessee. I just think Creighton's got the firepower to do it. Tennessee, their shooting is so off and on. I just don't see them being able to hang with Creighton. That's my upset right there. Creighton over Tennessee. And watch out again for Illinois. I know they may be a 3 seed, a sleeper as a 3 seed when you've got the likes of Houston, UConn, Purdue, North Carolina. But watch out for Illinois getting to the Final Four. I think they've got a really, really good shot at getting to the Final Four. That's going to be a fun matchup to keep an eye on. Who knows? Maybe they can beat Purdue. That's going to be a matchup that I'm really looking forward to seeing. But there you go. Those are on tap tomorrow. It's been a fun NCAA tournament. Has it been exciting as all get out? Yeah, it's been all right, I guess. Not one that for the record books yet. We don't have that double-digit seed media darling. And North Carolina State, it's hard for me to call them a Cinderella because they are a bigger school. They're not a blue blood, but they're an ACC team as an 11 seed. That to me does not qualify as a blue blood. So I can't really say that there is really a Cinderella team to cheer for. So, where I'm rooted right now in the Big Ten, I'm going to root for the Big Ten teams. Full disclosure. Purdue, Illinois, you know what? I hope they make a great run. We'll see what happens with that. All right, going to the Red Wings. Tough loss last night. That is one that Detroit needed desperately, so badly. Losing in overtime to the Washington Capitals. Washington now 2 points up with a game in hand. 10 games left for our Red Wings. They got to win at least 7 or 8 out of the 10, and they have got a gauntlet coming up. I mean, that if they do that, they deserve to get in. They go to Carolina tomorrow. Then they go to Florida on Saturday, Tampa Bay on Monday. Then they've got the Rangers at home, then Buffalo at home. I mean, 4 games in a row, incredibly difficult. They still have one with Washington at home on the 9th of April, but by then it could be Katie bar the door. I don't know. It's not looking good in Detroit. They had such a great run, and then they go through the skid when Larkin was out. Just a tough game to lose. They were behind. They were ahead last night. Then they went behind 3-2. They tied it up. Losing it in overtime was difficult, real difficult. And it's tough to see, but if they can somehow pull one out in Carolina tomorrow and then potentially get some points out of Florida and Tampa Bay, it could be a possibility. But boy, oh boy, it's just not looking good. Our only hope maybe is if Philadelphia starts to tank it, Washington overtakes them, and maybe Detroit can overtake Philadelphia. And so we'll keep an eye on that. But tough loss yesterday for the Red Wings. Really, really is. It's Reimer's going to be in goal tomorrow against Carolina, it sounds like. I don't know if that's going to make much of a difference. Detroit struggling in net right now. Just can't seem to put it together. Still got hope. They can curtail this swoon and sneak into the playoffs. And again, I think, you got all these people, a lot of the fan base are thinking, well, maybe it'd be good for them. What good is it going to do for them to get in the playoffs and get rocked? Getting some experience in the playoffs, to me, is huge. They're at the point now where they got to start thinking, let's get into the playoffs and inch our way up. And who knows, once you get in, you get a hot goaltender, you get a hot goal scorer or two, you just never know. And again, I might be just, with my Pollyanna optimism, my Red Wing red glasses on, who knows? But you know what? I just, it's going to be tough. Now, that was such a must win for them last night. I really thought that they needed that. So what are you going to do? All right, starting tomorrow too, we've got the NCAA hockey tournament, the National Hockey Tournament. The Frozen Four is going to be in St. Paul. I want to say the weekend of the 14th and 15th, I believe, or 13th and 14th. So this weekend, we've got the regional tournaments, Providence, Sioux Falls, Amherst, I believe, and then the Centene Center in St. Louis. A lot of complaining about where Michigan, Michigan State, and Western are going along with North Dakota State in the Centene Center. Now, I understand it's a tiny rink. I've been there. That's where the ACHA Nationals were just a couple of weeks ago. It's about a 3,000-seat barn. I get it. There's a lot of unhappy people in this area for starters. And it cracks me up because a lot of people that weren't planning on going to the game to begin with or going to that weekend are the loudest complainers. Now, it is a nice facility. I get that they had a mandate that it's supposed to be at least a 5,000-seat barn. Well, they did it, but no one else put in for the West Regional. And also with St. Louis getting the Frozen Four in 2025 and Lindenwood going into the NCAA, this is where the regional is going to be at. But my bigger question is, why did they put 3 Michigan teams in the same region? That I still don't have an answer for. But I got to tell you, it's I don't know if it's really going to matter. Michigan State is going to play Western, and Michigan's got North Dakota State. As much as I would love to see Western Michigan win, I don't think it's going to happen. And me, I bleed blue. And nothing against Michigan State. I just, if there's an underdog in this, the 2 underdogs, obviously from the state of Michigan, Michigan Tech and Western Michigan, I think it would be an absolute blast to see both of them in. But my Frozen Four predictions are going to be Boston College, Boston U, Denver, and Michigan State. Now, I've watched Boston College enough. I mean, they're just a wrecking crew right now. I don't see how they're stopped unless Michigan Tech can just pull one out. Their goaltender stands on their head on Friday afternoon at 2:00. Anything can happen in a win-or-go-home scenario. You see it in all these look at it in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. Look what Oakland did to Kentucky. It's possible. On any given day, a team can beat another team if they get a hot goaltender. You get a couple of goals quick. I just don't see it. I was at Munn Arena last weekend to watch Michigan State and Michigan, and I got to tell you, that was the most electric that I've seen Munn since the 90s. So it's been 30 years when that place, you couldn't get a ticket to get in there. They played an inspired game, winning in overtime against arch rival Michigan, 5-4. Trey Augustine is for real. I'm telling you right now. Freshman goaltender, Detroit Red Wings pick. I think he's going to carry Michigan State into the Frozen Four. Again, as a Michigan fan, I'd love to see Michigan win it. And who knows? Maybe they might meet again for the right to go to the Frozen Four. And to me, that would be absolutely amazing. What a way to spend Easter evening by watching that game. But Friday and Sunday are those matchups, but they start out tomorrow, Thursday, Saturday, Friday, Sunday for the NCAA hockey tournament. You got March Madness kicking back off tomorrow, Thursday. The men, the women start back up this weekend as well. Going to be a great weekend of sports. Major League Baseball. First pitch tomorrow, the real first pitch. Not the last weekend soft opener in Korea with the Padres and the Dodgers. This is where it gets going for everybody else for real. Hope springs eternal with our Detroit Tigers. I'm going to go back. I'm going to put these prop bets up that I put on for Brent when he was on the show in the first half hour. Our Detroit Tigers are plus 350 to win the American League Central. They've got a young core. If they can stay healthy, and if we can overcome the ineptness of Javi Baez at shortstop, maybe, just maybe, Detroit can win that division with an 87-win season. I don't think it's going to take much more than 87 games to win. And the thing to keep in mind with the American League Central is they play each other 19 times. They beat up on each other. That's a huge advantage if you want to win that division. And after that, who knows? But hey, like I said, hope springs eternal for Major League Baseball. Why not? But my prop bet, my sleeper bet for the World Series, I didn't get a chance to talk to Brent about. The Giants are plus 4,000 to win the World Series. Tell you what, they loaded themselves up. They could be a sleeper in that division. They got Blake Snell, as we mentioned. Look out for the Giants. As much as I don't want to see them because of what they did to the Tigers 12 years ago in that World Series, watch out for the San Francisco Giants to maybe be the upset special out of the National League with the heavyweights like the Giants, or I'm sorry, with the Braves and with the Dodgers and whatnot, the Phillies. Watch out for the Braves, or watch out for the Giants. And I want to say hey to Baddest Daddy producer Joe as well. Thanks for taking time out to watch us here tonight. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza is in the books. Next week, we'll go over the happenings of the Sweet 16. We'll have the Final Four all set, and it should be a fun time to talk some college hoops. We'll have the Final Four set for the men, for the women, the Frozen Four set for the hockey in the NCAA. Oh, by the way, congratulations to the Ohio State women Buckeyes as they won the NCAA Women's National Championship in a rematch against Wisconsin. So as hard as that is for me as a Michigan fan to say congratulations to an Ohio State team. Congratulations, Lady Buckeyes. You are the NCAA Women's Champions. Good for you. But we'll be back next week for another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza, where, again, we'll go over all of that. All the Final Fours will be set. The first week or so of Major League Baseball will be in the books. Who knows what else is going to go on as far as the NFL, what other storylines. And we can start talking about the first major in golf, too, the Masters. That's coming up in a couple of weeks from now will be the first day of the Masters tournament. So we got a lot to talk about. Who knows what's going to happen by then. And again, don't forget to join us next Tuesday for our final edition of Season 8 of the ACHA Power Play. We're going to wrap up the national championships. We'll go through the year in the ACHA, 7 o'clock Eastern time, the start of that. And, of course, next week, 7 o'clock Eastern time for another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. All right, again, thanks to Brent Radlinsky from the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. Check that out on their YouTube channel. They do a hell of a job there as well. And again, yours truly, Captain Lou, saying keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Thanks for joining us here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube for another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Until next week, enjoy your weekend, everybody. Stay safe. So long.